Welcome to the Inferno Cast. Today's guest has been doing martial arts for most of his life. He's trained champions in many different styles from boxing to MMA. He founded the Pitt Association and Training Center. He's most well known for his work with UFC athletes, but spends most of his time now training students from ages 3 to 72 within his martial arts organization, Mr. John the Pit Master Hackleman. How are you today, John?
Hey, fantastic, thanks.
Awesome. Wanted to catch up with you because you're always busy and kind of pushing the martial arts industry in a lot of different directions. And I really wanted to kind of get into a little bit of the history because, you know, you've spoke before about how you found martial arts and what pushed you into it, kind of moving away from bullying. Really what I wanted to ask was there a transition when you started doing martial arts that really made you feel kind of empowered like a different person? Because sometimes it takes a while for people to feel that. So I was going to see, do you remember ever running into that?
Oh, yeah, I remember the second. I remember it like it was yesterday. In fact, I tried I it's I've been trying to find the person that made that connection with me the last few times I've gone back to Hawaii, and he's been in jail, then he was in prison, and then the last time I went back, went to his old house, and he's passed away. But so what happened was I was nine-ish. I was in grade school, and I was in Honolulu, Hawaii, and I knew that in grade school, my grade school was a very peaceful grade school. It wasn't a rough grade school, but I knew that my middle school or intermediate school, as they call it in Hawaii, which is seventh, eighth, ninth grade, I knew that was going to be very tough. And I heard like just terrible stories about it. What happens to us, the white people with the blonde hair? And it scared the shit out of me. So I remember right around fifth grade, I would tell my mom about it, and she kind of it didn't mean much to her because she's a bullying doesn't really affect the parents as much, right? They don't see it firsthand, and my mom was in denial about it. So, but I wasn't. I hear about this every day I go to school, and so I found a place. Went through the yellow pages, which we don't have anymore, and I finally found a place. So called up, found out a little bit about it at 9 years old. You got to remember, I'm 9 years old. So I got on a bus. I actually had to catch two buses because I had to transfer. And I walked into this place, which was about as big as my office, which is, I'm exaggerating a little bit. It was probably 500 square feet. And there was like a makiwara, and then a heavy bag. And then in the back of the room was my instructor. And he was sitting in a little office. And a big Hawaiian mean guy, the kind of guy that was going to bully me when, so asked him about classes. He told me. I knew right then, I knew that second that I was going to be there for the rest of my life. I knew the second I walked in there. It's just a little broken down room, you know, and I knew. So I started training there, and he was a rough guy. There was no kids classes, no character building mat chats and stuff like that. It was just like punching and kicking and fuck you and you better fucking toughen up. And his most of his students, we wore black gis, and most of his students were tough looking Hawaiian guys with tattoos. Find out later they were also his henchmen, helping him with his criminal activities, but those were his black belts. But during the a 9, 10-year-old kid, I didn't really know. So little by little, it kind of toughened me up, I guess. Just no mat chats, just by doing. He didn't talk about confidence and discipline and perseverance and all that. He didn't make those mat chats. I was just learning that stuff from training there and sticking it out during his sparring and shit like that. And I had to keep coming back because I wanted to come back. And my mom would be, "Why are you all bruised up, man? Why?" So I go to this school. I go to middle school, intermediate school. And that's a rough school. And and like one of the first, not the first day, I don't remember which day it was, but I remember big local guy came up to me. Hey, Howley, give me your lunch money. I remember that like it was yesterday. And I was like, no. I was like, nah, fuck that. It's my money, man. You don't get it. And he kind of looked at me like, wait, this Howley just said no. And I beat the shit out of him. And I remember people in the crowd yelling, you can't kick. I can kick. And I remember beating him. And broken up by a teacher. And I went back to class and nothing was ever the same again. It was like, I walked around that campus and I didn't have to, like, you're not supposed to look back at a local. You're supposed to look down or look away, or it's like threatening. And it's like, what the fuck you looking at, Holly? What are you looking at? You know? So it was like the opposite. From then on, from that day forward, I was like this. Like, what are you looking at? I'm looking at you, bro. And it
So
never,
you had like
never.
it was the literal keep your chin up kind of thing, whereas like, you know, I mean, you kind of hear that cliche where it's like, you know, keep your chin up. And now you're able to actually do that in like a real life situation where that was a social, you know, cultural norm there, that it was like, you don't look people in the eye in certain circumstances. That's, so I got to ask, so you talked about, you know, wanting to go back to this school that was hardcore, that was, you know, real, you know, challenging. Was that perseverance already in you? Were you just that type of person, or do you feel like the martial arts brought that out of you?
The people in life, and he's definitely in the top three, but so is my dad. And my dad wasn't like that. He wasn't an outwardly rough guy, but he went to West Point, you know, and he went and he fought in World War II, and he was in the infantry. So he was an infantry fighter in the World War II. You know, he got a Purple Heart. He's like, so he was definitely that kind of guy. He went to West Point, you know, so he was definitely that guy, smart as shit. Because West Point, people go, wow, he must have had a lot of money. West Point is free. You don't have any money to go West Point, but you have to be smart, as like crazy smart and disciplined, because it's probably the most disciplined college. It's not like nowadays where I want a safe space. They're telling you what, you know. So I had that, but he was quiet, and he was really busy when I was growing up, so I didn't really spend tons of time with him. But I think that kind of stoic came from him. And then the toughness, just like even to a fault, which I've had to reel in a few times, came from my instructor, who's passed away since. So that's, I think those two people created that.
So when you went looking for, you know, that old instructor those multiple times, what were you looking for? Was it you know, just to see where you're at now, just to connect with somebody that led you that early? I mean, you know, what were you what was that conversation going to be like if you had found, you know, that guy before he passed?
The guy, just to laugh and give him a hug, and I wanted to thank him, because him being an ass to me changed everything, whole life. I went to high school, and that followed me to high school, and people were like, "Oh, that's John. He beat up." I'm not gonna give the guy's name. I'm gonna call him Daryl Silva. He was a big guy, and it's followed. It stayed with me in my intermediate school, followed me into my high school, and it never. And then that from there, you know, I became a Golden Glove block boxer and champion kickboxer. So that kind of stuff stayed with me. And people in Hawaii love people that can fight. Hawaii is a fighting state. It's like, you can be smart, people don't give a shit. They're still gonna, you know, you can be smart, you can be rich, you can be, you know, whatever. They want people that are tough. It's a very old school. I think there are better fighters per capita in Honolulu, Hawaii than there are anywhere else.
That's just what that's like really a core of their value system, huh?
Yeah.
That's
great
awesome,
people,
man.
but they can, if you watch two kids fighting in like grade school, two locals that grew up local, you watch the fight, you go, oh, those kids must be like Golden Glove boxers and MMA fighters now. Yeah. No, that's just how that's in their DNA, man.
Yeah. So you just wanted to go back, find this guy to connect, be appreciative, share memories.
Yep. I want to thank him.
Yeah.
I want to thank him.
That's awesome, man. You know, because that gratitude piece, There's just so much of that, because sometimes some of our worst circumstances teach us the best lessons in life. And sometimes
Without a doubt.
people, they may not be the idealistic, Tony Robbins leader, like who you got to talk to yesterday, but sometimes people, their flaws are some of our best lessons, to move forward. And I think
Yeah.
that, so right now, like, because you have all these students and you have this association, and so, you've been in a leadership role for a long time. What was the transition into that, where it was like you were the fighter and then it turned into you were the coach, and you started noticing these patterns for people to be
Yeah.
successful in combat sports? What was that like?
It was a slow, it was it morphed slowly, because I was a fighter. Even when I was a younger fighter, I remember I was boxing for the Army. I was on the
Mhm.
Army team, but I was stationed in Hawaii for part of it. And I would go to my old boxing gym and I was training some of the younger fighters, even working their corners while I was in the Army fighting for the Army. Because I loved watching these kids growing. And then I became a registered nurse. I had to feed my family, and fighting wasn't doing it, in the late 70s, early 80s. So I opened up a little gym in my backyard, which people started flocking to. And so I started training people then. And then next thing I know, like when Chuck first started, um, he worked my corner a couple of my last fights. And then we actually had a fight together where he was the semi-main and I was the main, and I worked his corner, and then a couple of my other students worked my corner. So it's kind of it went slowly, and then one day, actually Chuck was in my corner, and I was having a terrible fight, um, and I just hated every second of it. And I came back in the corner. I actually beat the guy, but I came back to the corner. I go, I'm never going to do this again. And if I ever say I'm going to, I want you to beat me up. And he was like, all right. So I
Yeah.
never fought again. And then from then, I went from fighter trainer to just trainer. And it
Yeah.
was probably one of the best decisions ever.
Well, definitely for, your body, because you get so many miles on it, and then stuff just starts slowing down and too many
Yeah.
shots.
Yeah.
So when you went to the trainer position, what was probably like the number one priority for you working with athletes? Like, what was that thing that you wanted out of them? It's like, look, man, if you're going to work with me, this is what you have to be willing to do.
Yeah, that's an easy one, and I think it sets me apart a lot. I mean, I've even had, Big John McCarthy talking about it. Joe Rogan's talked about it. I think I'm one of the toughest trainers physically and old school, and I yell a lot. And even though I know I'm just like noise when I'm yelling, I think they do get a lot out of it because they come back. I've had guys come back to me later, years later, and always remember this or that. So I want to be that hardcore guy, but I want to also give life lessons. Um, and as hardcore can you hear me?
Yep. Yep.
As hardcore as I want to be, and I want my fighters to be, because life's tough, and so is, especially martial arts. Um, I also am the first guy to throw in the towel in one of my guys. If my guy gets hurt at all, I'm not going to risk anything. I throw in the towel. I've been faulted for that by referees. Even ring doctors have like complained that I throw in the towel too easy. But I would say, "Fuck you, that's my fighter." So I kind of, and I tell my fighters that coming in. So I say, "I love you guys. I'll train you guys hard. I'll push you hard. But if you're getting hurt, I'm not." And that's I've had guys talk about what a great thing that is and how much I have for that. For doing honest, it's not really, because my fighter could have got dropped and hurt and then come back and won. So to me, it's my weakness that I don't want to see them getting hurt. But they could. I'm taking a chance away from them that they could have come back and faced adversity, got dropped, got hurt, come back and won, and then they could have had a win. That means they could have won twice as much money, and they could have been closer to a title. And I took that away from them because I threw in the towel. But I let them know ahead of time. If you want me to train you, I'll train you. But if I work your corner, I will throw in the towel if you get hurt, and there's no questions asked. So take that with a grain of salt. And if you want me to work your corner, that's great. If you don't, I understand, no harm, you know. So it's a good and bad thing.
Yeah, you know, double-edged sword, because it's like, you know, it's kind of delay and denial, where it's like, if you get injured and I throw in the towel, it's going to delay your progress, you know, momentarily. But if you get in there and you get hurt and you take serious damage and something becomes permanent, that becomes denial to where you may never fight again. And that's,
I mean, to be honest, like that doesn't happen very much. It's like, and people talk about that a lot, but it very seldom happens. So what I'm doing to a big part is I'm actually taking the fight away from them.
Mhm.
I'm taking it out of their hands. I'm taking it out of the referee's hands.
Yeah.
And I have prematurely stopped fights before, and I've taken a potential win out of my fighter's hands, and I feel bad about that. But that's me, and I'm not going to let my guy get hurt.
Right.
So I let them know ahead of time. Hey, I'm an early towel thrower in there, guys. So
Yeah.
just know that. So anyway,
which means that your guys need to be coming out with a very dominant performance, and if they do the prep work on the beginning, you know, to go out and run the game plan and, you know, stay
and
on.
Everybody gets rocked. Yeah, but then
happens.
so's the other guy. Yeah. So that's my I think that's my biggest thing that I tell my fighters. But I also want them to be super tough, never quit in the gym, and you know, I have a thing where I yell a lot, and that's kind of my thing. And my fighters know I mean it, but they also know it's like, yeah, okay. So, and I know that because I'm the old guy now, so I'm all right with that.
Yeah,
When I tell
you've
my
earned
stories,
that.
they're like,
Yeah,
what?
you've earned that mantle to where it's like you're allowed to do that. You put in the time, you get away with that.
My wife, my kids, my grandkids, they all know, like, they know that I'm a tough guy, and they respect it, but then they also know I just run my mouth a lot, and like, so probably like 3/4 of the stuff I say is like, just like, yeah, whatever. And then maybe a quarter of it, they'll go, okay, really? And they'll listen to. And I'm all right with that.
Yeah, that works out well. So whenever you started training fighters on the bigger stage, you know, one of the quotes I got to hear you say one time was like, man, really the only thing that changed was instead of it being like a $2 timer, it was like a $50 timer, you know, like the work stayed the same. So do you feel like that, you know, what did that look like as, you know, as it became more important for these guys competing on larger stages? What did the training methodology do to evolve?
It was actually a $15,000 timer.
Oh,
it was actually a Rolex Daytona.
Oh my gosh! So
anyway, and it went from like a little Walmart timer to that. So that's why that's where the joke was. And also Chuck went from a Honda 250 broken down motorcycle to a Ferrari. So, but so my point is though that, you know, a lot of the things have changed, but the hardcore wheelbarrow, you know, get in your face fight style training hasn't changed.
Yeah.
So
was there any evolution? Did you have any evolution or better ideas as you started training the guys, you know, for the bigger stages, and just having that much access to information, getting to do so much film study and the different camera angles? Like, what kind of adjustments did you make along the way?
Not really. I mean, I think we progressed, and we, you know, like I learned that not much from the fights. You know, the fight is a fight. I've always known those basics. It was more of preparing for the fight. Like, it used to be just run really far every day. And that was everybody's conditioning. In the old days, that was conditioning. Like nowadays, there's plyometric, and there's this body work, and the high intensity interval training, and there's this and that. And before it was you just go out there and fucking run, then you finish your run with some sprints. Maybe you'll do some push-ups, and then, you know, and that was it. That was a fighter's training, whether you're a kickboxer or a boxer. And then started coming in, you know, running too far isn't good. It breaks down your body. You should do sprints. You should rest more. It was more about the physical training that's changed over the years. So I try to keep mine old school and super tough, but also I keep it, you know, but I've also evolved. I've evolved, but I've stayed the same. So now instead of long distance, whatever, with a wheelbarrow, I do more interval training, interval sprints with the wheelbarrow. I
Yeah.
still do the sledgehammer, but you know, so it's different but the same. But the fighting itself doesn't. I mean, the fighting itself hasn't really changed at all. You know, we've always worked a lot on takedown defense. I think now we work more on takedowns because as we've evolved as a school, we used to be known as a stand-up school that likes to defend takedowns and keep the fight standing. But now I have fighters that shit they want to take the guy down. They want to stay down. So
Yeah.
you know, we've brought more. We spend more time drilling takedowns than we used to. But everything else, you know, but the training is pretty much the same.
Yeah. So back in the early days, whenever, you know, fights were a little bit less regulated and a little shady, what's one of your fun stories of one of the crazy fights that you guys went to, whether you were competing or one of your fighters, it was like, oh my gosh, this one time at this one fight, we had to do this.
When it was illegal and we were doing an underground fight once, the cops like we heard sirens in it was at a warehouse in LA, and we all we were like cockroaches, man. We just all just started running. And I remember one of the fighters, it wasn't even my fighter, but he hurt his knee in the fight before, and I'm a registered nurse. Anytime there's a hurt guy, I'm the one that always has to go, hey, you okay? You know. So I noticed that he wasn't getting it. I had to go and run and help him. You know, I had to go help him like run away from the cops because he got hurt. I think he got hurt against my guy too. But I was helping him to get to his car because we're all trying to get away from the cops. And I don't think they would have really arrested anyone. They were just kind of raiding it and trying to get us to disperse. But it was kind of fun, like running, like, and we all split from the cop. That was when it was illegal. That's crazy.
So this was basically like, you know, Lionheart with the cars circled up and the lights on and people duking it out in the center.
It's funny as shit. And then my fight, I promoted a fight once, and I was calling it a sparring match on the flyers because I didn't have a commissions okay. It was illegal, but some guy, local guy, and I know who did it, called the commission and said, this is really going to be a fight, you know, and he's really going to promote a fight. So call one of the guys, hey, John, what are you doing, man? I hear you're promoting a fight, you know, and it was, you know, I knew the commission guys because I have so many fighters and I used to fight. So I was like, hey, bro, this is just a sparring match. We're just going to, no, man, you can't do it. We're going to have to call the, we're going to have to call the sheriffs. They're going to have to shut you down. I go, well, man, I spent like 10 grand already promoting this thing, and you know the fighter's already in town. I'm not gonna not do it. So if you got to come break it up and you got to come call the cops, then go ahead. But this sparring match will go on tomorrow night. And it was like the night it was happening the next night. I was like, oh shit. All night I stayed awake all night because I pictured that the cops were going to come and you know, I already sold tickets. I already made a lot of money in this fight, and I had I even got some fighters from out of town, and I was so paranoid all night that fight, even like when we first got there and during, you know, the fight started, I was like, maybe they're not going to come. So that was kind of a trying time for me. They never did come, and I ended up winning, and Chuck ended up winning, and I promoted. So it was a good night.
So you fought on the card that you promoted?
I fought, yeah. One of my promotion. That was my one and only promotion, actually. I wanted to fight this guy really bad because we'd fought twice already, and I beat him once, and he beat me once. So I was like, you know, so at the end, I wanted to finish up my career and fight him one more time. And there was no promotion out there that was, you know, doing it. So, so I promoted it, and I asked him, and he like charged me a lot of money to fight. I was like, fucker, okay. So I ended up probably all the money I made from ticket sales went to his purse. Yeah. But I fought him anyway, and yeah, I broke his leg in that fight. So
wow.
And I didn't have insurance, so he had to like out of pocket his broken leg. And I remember getting calls from him for like fucking months later saying he was gonna sue me, and I was like, shut up. Anyway, so that was my ordeal.
Oh man, that's awesome. So now that the organization has grown, you know, you're coaching, you got kids in the program, you got older people in the program, you got everybody in the program. Like it just, you've really widened the net. Um, you have a structured rank system. What are you really trying to give people, you know, with this wide net where martial arts is kind of almost for everybody kind of deal? Like, you know, what is your program giving people that maybe they were missing or didn't have before?
I think it is. I think it's. I mean, in one word, it would be, don't let anyone take your lunch money, and that to me that means a lot of different things. To me, it goes back to my first real fight I had in school, which led to everything. But it also means like if you want to win a title, that's your lunch money. Don't let anyone take it from you. If you're a cop or you're law enforcement, don't let anyone take your health away so you can't go home to your family. Um, for some people, it just means you want to be in top shape and have a great body and have a great life and be healthy. Don't let anyone take that away from you. Don't let that's your lunch money. So to me, the lunch money means a lot of different things to a lot of people. It started off with my actual quarter, which lunch money was in Hawaii in 1972. I think it was 1972. Lunch money was a quarter. We wait in line, give the lady the quarter. We got a plate. It was like a cafeteria. So don't let anyone take your lunch money. To me, means a lot of different things to a lot of different people, but it basically means, don't let anyone take your shit. Go out and take it. Better to be tried by 12 than carried by 6. Better to ask for forgiveness than ask for permission. Always throw the first punch. So there's a lot of things that are involved with that. But to me, that's, if I had to sum it up in one word, that would be it, or one sentence. Or it's live clean, train hard, fight dirty. So I don't know. I think that's it. But but also never start a fight. So that's the part two. But I don't have to. It's too long to throw too much shit in.
Yeah.
So I also say you never start a fight. Always throw the first punch, but never start a fight. And some people don't understand that, but it's a pretty clear cut message, and I stand by it. Even when I can't even speak at schools anymore. Like I can't speak at schools, and that's a big deal for martial arts school owners to be able to get into the school system. I can't, because I will tell the kids on anti-bullying, always hit first. And they do not want to hear that. And I'm like, well, when do you hit? Second? The second hit is going to be your kid's head hitting the ground. So you can't, there's no second hit. It's like telling a cop, never shoot first, wait till you're shot first. It's the dumbest thing ever, but schools are still teaching it because the schools don't care about the kids. They care about their tenure, and they're getting their retirement and their pension, and they don't, I mean, to be honest, they don't want to be bothered with that stuff, right? It's not their kid. It's not them that's ruining their life being bullied. So it's easy for them to just not accept the liability, say, never hit first, so I don't go to schools, obviously.
Yeah, it's a big thing, and especially for you, like your whole life's work came from that type of circumstance where, you're being bullied and pushed around. So, I mean, I'm sure that you're real passionate about that. So whenever
and it wasn't the same. It wasn't the same. It wasn't the same back then, like I never got in trouble in my life for fighting. And I probably got, teachers probably caught me fighting, probably, without exaggerating, probably like, I don't know, probably maybe 10 times from intermediate school to high school. I never got in trouble. It's just like, go back to class. Now, if you get in a fight, they treat you like a terrorist. They put you on a no-fly list. They send you Guantanamo Bay. They punish you. They expel you from school. It's like, it's a fight. They're two boys. Boys fight. Girls gossip. They don't expel girls for gossiping. Why do they expel boys for fighting? You know, sometimes it's not even bullying. Sometimes two boys just want to go in the back and scrap. Next thing you know, they're being treated like hardened criminals. It's like it's become such a soft, you know, thing where bullies need to be dealt with. A bully's different than two guys that want to fight, and a
Yeah.
bully should be dealt with severely. But that severely starts with you and punching him in the face. It's not rocket science. It's not trying to cure cancer. It's not really a complicated thing. You punch the bully back in the face as hard as you can. You punch him as hard as you can. And then wherever it goes from there, it goes from there. But I'll tell you what, you might get expelled, you might get suspended, but being suspended is better than getting the shit kicked out of you and not fighting back. And now you're a bully target for the rest of your life, which
Yeah.
will go back in. That'll follow you into your job. So your boss will always treat you like shit. Then your wife, she'll fool around with a neighbor, she'll treat you like shit. So being bullied has so many circumstances, and being not bullied, right? It changes your life. Bing.
Absolutely. So when you're dealing with some of these adults that come in your program, do you see a lot of these, you know, residual issues later in life that was like, man, you know, this person has been missing that confidence or that, you know, that self-esteem to be able to stand up for themselves? Like, do you notice that a lot in adults that
Yeah.
you're dealing with, that that's kind of what they're trying to recover from?
There's a lot of them like that, but I think even more of them, they're in denial, and they've grown up so soft and so easy. It's such an easy, you know, they've grown up so soft and so easy that they've never been in a fight. They act grown men who are actually fighting like punching like this. I mean, they've never been in a fight. But I've never played basketball, but I actually know how to throw a, you know, shoot a basket. I've never played football. I know how to throw a football. You know, I've never played baseball. You know, I've never done those sports, but it's kind of a manly thing. But fighting's even the most manly. It's like the base. It's in our DNA, fight or flight. I've never been a runner, but I know how to run. But fight, some people don't know how to throw a punch. It's like, how old are you? How did you grow up? Oh my God. But so they've never fought in their life, you know, and now they have their head in the sand. So a lot of those guys, I have to, you know, let them know that, you know, you've been blessed, you've been lucky, you know, you never had to fight. You've had an easy life, basically. But all of a sudden now, with that easy life, you're walking in the Walmart parking lot at 9 o'clock at night with your wife and kids, and you've had this easy little soft life, and some guy, you know, out of nowhere shoves you up against your car and starts to beat the shit out of you. That easy life it just went away. And
Yeah.
if you don't know how to fight, right, you're gonna get the shit kicked out of you, right? And then the guy will probably turn on your family, kill them, or if not, he just kicks the shit out of you and walks away laughing. And you know, your wife's not gonna, she's not gonna comfort you. She's gonna despise you for being such a fucking wimp. And if you end up in a coma, she's not gonna come visit you in the nursing home. She's gonna be with the neighbor. You lost everything. She's not, you know, she went with you because you're secure and you're soft and you're a nice, loving, caring father. But every single woman on the planet wants an alpha male when it comes to being able to fight. And if you don't know how to fight, you know, there's a certain, like, you know, there's certain things that are gonna make her lose all respect for you. And not knowing how to fight, whether you like it or not, if she sees you get the shit kicked out of you and you're whimpering and crying like a little girl and punching like this, you just lost everything. She can't unsee that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, that's absolutely true.
Sorry for that reality check. You know,
Well, I
and
mean,
this is how I bring it. This is how I bring it back. This is
yeah.
what I say. Like, you know, I've never, let's say I've never had breast cancer, right? And I'll never have breast cancer. But that doesn't mean I'm against, you know, learning how to fight it and spending money to have like, you got to have insurance that's going to, you know, help you fight that. But I don't have my head in the sand and just say, that's a waste of time, you know, I'll never get that. Or even something like, you know, like cardiac disease. I don't say, that's a waste of time, I'll never get that. And that's what people that have never been in a fight, that's how they feel about fighting. It'll never happen to them, So they think it's a waste of time. But once it does, like if I said that and I refuse to get my insurance, which I do have, then all of a sudden I got cardiac illness. Now it's too late. Now I'm gonna die. I can't go back and say, well, shit, oh well, I'm gonna start doing cardiac health now. Now
Yeah.
it's too late. Jumping out of the plane, if you don't have a parachute and you forgot it, it's too late. You can't go back and get it. But the good news is you'll never need it again. So the good news for you, if you get the shit kicked out of you in front of your wife and you don't know how to fight, you'll never have to fight in front of her again because she's gone. She'll never look at you the same.
So basically like a preparation mindset of just like, there's certain skills and things in life that you feel like people have got to invest in, because it's not about, what are the chances of you needing it. It's about if you ever do need it, you got to make sure that it's there.
Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much like the brakes or like the airbag of the car. Yeah. Oh, why the fuck do I need? I'm not going to spend, $3,500 extra to get an airbag. Why should I do that? I'll never get in an accident. That's how stupid that people are, because they've never been in a fight, think they don't have to learn how to fight. But they get an airbag and they lock their door. Why do you have to lock your door? Nobody's ever breaking into your house. So martial arts, to me, fight or flight. You know how to run, you should definitely know how to fight. And if you don't, you just have your head in the sand, and whatever happens after that, I'm not saying you deserve it, but you asked for it.
Right. Lack of preparation. Absolutely, man. So switching gears to the future, what have you been working on? What's the association looking like? What's the plan for the next, few years with the training and the students and growing all of the schools you work with? What do you got cooked up for us?
I'm going more online now, and a lot of people are like, and a lot of people are doing that now, right? Because this happened. I did this a year and a half ago, and I was getting a lot of flack for it. And people were saying, man, you're hardcore. You're going online. That's so soft. And you can't train people online. It's like, how's it soft? I'm going to be watching these people. I had Zoom a year and a half ago, and I was watching my guys sweating and doing these hardcore workouts like we do, but they're doing them on Zoom and Dropbox. They're sending me videos. There's nothing soft or wimpy about that. They're just doing it from England, New Zealand, Australia, Guam, etc. Because I can't reach everyone in Arroyo Grande, California. So I started teaching online courses, an online martial arts course where I'm actually belting. I did that a year and a half ago. So I'm not saying I thought about it first, but I did think about it first. But no, I think Gracie, I was actually, to be honest, Gracie was the first person that I thought of that did a belt system. And people don't think, wow, Gracie's sold out. But a lot of the programs are softer. But then again, with the people that were telling me this, if I looked at their brick and mortar school, their real school, their physical school, they're softer than my online school. Right. They're not having to do the hardcore stuff my guys are. My guys are just doing it on different continents, and I'm watching them do it on Zoom or Dropbox. So I have an online course that's just it's called the Pit Online Dojo, or we call it HK3 for short. So I do that, and I'm loving that, and I've been loving that since before this coronavirus. Yeah. But now we're just gonna carry on our school, keep things going the way we're going. I'm cutting back on fighters. I'm finishing up the fighters I have, and I'm not going to take any new ones because I want to focus on my school, focus on my family, focus on just getting, going to the twilight. I'm getting old, and I'm just like, fuck this shit already. I've done this for too long.
You're looking at the second half of the game, trying to get ready for that the touchdown pass to go celebrate.
The last third.
Oh man. So I mean, it is ingenious that you found a way to increase your reach, because you've been a person of high profile in the industry for a long time, and finding a way to deliver that, because there's a lot of people that want to be part of what you're doing. They want to connect with you, your leadership style. that are hard workers, but like you said, they live on another continent, they're in other countries, and you can't be on a plane all the time. They can't be coming to see you all the time. So, you know, you giving them this platform to engage with you and interact, I think there's a lot of value in that, you know, and yes, you know, there's criticisms that'll come with the online training over the years, but at the end of the day, the results speak for themselves, you know.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. I
absolutely.
think, and I think I've proven myself and our system, and my students have proven my system's effectiveness, and even guys like Joe Rogan and you know, Tony Robbins and all the UFC guys that I think we've proven it. So one of the things I'm doing this Corona hysteria phase right now is I'm an anti-kata guy, but I'm actually learning a couple Shotokan katas because my buddy's a Shotokan guy. He's like the main Shotokan guy in the world. I don't even know. I think he is. His name's Funakoshi, so
Oh,
he must
yeah,
be. He
yeah.
must be pretty high. But he's actually videoing, and I don't know why he calls me Agent Hackleman, but he does. But anyway, so we're doing online through WhatsApp, and we're doing videos, and so we're doing the katas, and he might even promote me to. I might get a belt in Shotokan while this goes on. Plus, I'm working on some of my pop locking. I've been watching a lot of pop locking during this thing, and I've also been just studying up on like more get productivity, because I'm a productivity nut. I always get apps and shit. I do that shit a lot. So got that. And then yesterday I got to interview Tony Robbins, which was like, you don't even know. Like, it's just like, because to me, I believe in God, but I think Tony is the most godlike human that I know. I think Tony Robbins has helped more people on this planet than any other human alive. I really do. And having him on my podcast, which I have like fucking 7 followers, so it's not the
You killed me,
demographics
John.
he's used to. He's not
Yeah.
used to that. I got him on. I go, we got 7 followers, so I hope you're not too nervous. But
Yeah.
just hearing him talk, and I'm not usually a giddy guy, but hearing him talk to me is like it's like hearing something that's not human talk. To me, he's godlike. People like mock me for saying that, but I don't really give a fuck. But
Yeah.
I really think he is. And he's helped me, since my early days of my people that shaped me, my martial arts instructor, my high school counselor, and my father. Since them 3, since I've been an adult, nobody has helped me or changed my life on his own. I can't help him. He's a billionaire. He's helped me on his own, just like with calls, and I've been to his house, and he's helped me in situations on his own. He doesn't get anything from it, and I can't believe it. So to me, he's godlike. So anyway, I
So
had him on my show yesterday.
what's your biggest influence for him that you feel like has helped you the most?
Okay, it's there. He's not a cheerleader, and he's not a motivational guy like people think, but he's given me some strategies on my fight team, which are just strategies like how to do this. So it'd be more systematic stuff. He's not just a cheerleader. He's given me strategies on how to juggle being a fight coach, being an entrepreneur or business owner, and then being a father, son, husband, etc. And I mean, he spent a long time with different strategies. Well, do this and this and this and this. But to be honest, just hearing him say, like, well, it really bothers me when I do this. And then hearing him say, quit acting like a little fucking bitch and just do it. Hearing him say that on certain things it probably pushes me, more than anything else. Because when you're hearing someone like that telling you, quit quit acting like a little fucking bitch and just do it. I don't know. When it comes from Tony Robbins, it's just different.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and
Yeah.
you look at your influences, like you've always been, kind of a hard style leader, and you respond well to hard style leadership. If somebody,
Yeah.
I mean, imagine if I told you like, Hackleman, you're never going to be able to do this, that would not go well. Like you'd be like, wait a minute, let me tell you exactly what I'm going to do. So you respond to that. So I'm sure that, he's probably got you figured out a little bit about, how well you react to certain leadership styles. And, for him just to,
He's a genius. He's a
that's
genius.
awesome.
He's a genius. He's a genius. There's never been anyone on our planet that's helped as many people as him. I'd be willing to bet tens of thousands of dollars. Nobody could point me to a guy. You could talk about Nelson Mandela, great guy, fucking hero, but I'll go with billions of people that Tony's gone around the world helping and feeding and talking to and helping financially, spiritually, physically, mentally, strategically. It's unbelievable. It's like,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
anyway, so that was great.
And now, like with your own reach, you're on all these different continents, you're in different countries influencing people. I mean, so, your own influence is growing. Is there something that you would give advice to a young instructor that's about to have major influence, that's, coaching a lot of athletes? What advice would you give that young guy that's going to be that leader to help him not make some of the mistakes you did, or to help him be a better leader than what he was before?
I think it would be study your game on every aspect. Like I just wanted all my fighters to throw the left hook. So I realized early, like in the 80s, oh shit, they want to do this. They're not going to all fight like me. They have their own style. So learning every system. I spent so much time with the best jiu-jitsu guys in the world, like Ricardo Laborio, and I spent hours and hours, the Noguera brothers, working on stuff, because I hate jiu-jitsu. I think it's like I can't stand it, but I have to learn how to get off the bottom. I have to learn how to defend certain attacks. So I spent hours, and every time it's the same thing. I teach them a left hook, they're going to teach me something, and it's always how to escape from something. I spent hours working with, I hate wrestling. I think wrestling's the boringest sport in the world. I think you have to be like partially gay to want to rub around with a guy all day in a leotard or whatever they call it. And it's just crazy. But with that said, wrestling to me is the most important pivotal part of MMA. It controls everything in MMA. So I think it's so important, and it's so important part of MMA. I have, Matt Lindland, Olympics. He's the head coach for the Olympic wrestling team. Sammy Henson, who is one of the most notoriously brutal, aggressive wrestlers in our era, right? Silver medalist, world champion wrestler. I spent hours with them, hours, not just a little guy in their garage that wrestled in high school once. How to defend this takedown. What if I throw this punch? Every angle, how to get out of, defend takedowns, and how to take people down off of strikes. So I've gone out of my comfort zone to learn this shit and to understand it at least. Never want to do it myself, but I feel like I've come to a place where I can teach that stuff now. So going out of my comfort zone, that's a big one. Mm-hmm. Making sure that every fighter or every athlete or every student, all my students are different. I have some students that have like a stupid looking left hook that are black belts because they're good at other things. And I know that stupid left hook that they're throwing hurts. That's the only part of a left hook that matters, is how it affects the person it hits. So I don't care how stupid it looks. If I've seen it hit my pad or even hit my face and I know it hurts, then it's okay with me. You're never gonna hear Joe Rogan when someone gets knocked out with an ugly technique go, "Oh, that knockout shouldn't count." So knowing that your student is your student, not you. You're not looking in a mirror. You want him to be the best him. You're not trying to make him, everybody trying to, mold him like you. You want him be the best of him. So that's a really important one too. Now, if you're and you have to yell and loud, or at least portray you yelling loud, whatever your style is. But you have to be super hardcore with them, or they'll never push hard enough. But you can't push too hard, or else, because they'll try to please you, and then your overtraining is worse than undertraining. So you have to push them to here, never here. I'd rather be here than here, but this is optimal. And yet that comes with time, right? But what doesn't come with time is loving your fighters, loving your students, loving your athletes like your own family, and taking care of them, making sure you take care of them first. Like in a fight, I want my guy to go. He's tough, tough, tough. But if something's happening to him, I'm going to stop the fight, or I'm going to whatever, because I care about him more than me having a guy that's beating the shit or winning. I'd rather my guy lost because I threw in a towel and didn't get hurt. And you have to have that. I hear too many trainers go, "Hey, we got him. We can power through this." And then after he gets dropped and his fucking eyeball hurts and he has a punctured lung, but he'll power through it, and then he'll win the fight and make me look better like the coach. We can do it. You never say we. You say we when you're training. You say you as a coach. When he lost, it's all your fault. And you have to take all responsibility when he loses. Every one of Chuck's fights, I say during an interview, I always said, I trained him wrong for that fight. I trained him wrong. I taught him the wrong stuff. I should have taught him better. It's always your fault. When they win, it's all because of them, because they're great. They're a great fighter. They're tough. They're skilled. They're whatever. When they win, it's them. When they lose, it's you. That's a good coach.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the time. I appreciate the insight. It's always fun talking to you because you never know where it's going to go and what happens. But I appreciate everything that you've done. You've been a leader in the industry, and people that know you core, they know who you are, on the inside, and what people mean to you and how much you really do try to help those. And I appreciate the relationship over the years. And if there's ever anything you need from me, always ask. Is there anything you'd like to finish with?
No, just send me a copy of this. I want to make sure I put it up. Great interview.
Yes, I appreciate it, buddy. We'll be talking to you soon.
All right, thank you.